Thomas Frank, Manchester United's next target to be the manager at Manchester United, the biggest club in the football world. Well, supposedly. Anyway, we're talking about that. We're live tonight. This is Forever United TV. Welcome along to the show, everybody. I want your live comments in right now. I want your comments in after the live show has finished. Where do you rate Thomas Frank? Straightforward question right now. If United were to do what they had to do to get Frank through the door now, that's getting him off Brentford's books and into United, would you be happy? Where do you rank him? Let me know. Get into the comments. Another big manager that turned Manchester United down. Manchester United is still in contact with Zinedine Zidane and a top striker target set for Manchester United next summer. All of that, as well as the managerial situation and a little bit more of a look ahead towards Brentford this weekend. All coming up in tonight's live show. Welcome along, everyone. Make sure you've liked the video. Make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell notification. You won't miss out on any Manchester United news. We got you covered here on FUTV. Get into the comments. That's the most important part, everyone. I want to get your thoughts on Thomas Frank right now. So where has this report come from? Obviously, Thomas Frank has been talking today. I was on TalkSport earlier on this morning, on the morning show, bright and early. I forgot to mention that actually earlier on, at 6:30 this morning, talking to Alan Brazil and Gabriel Banglaho about Manchester United's situation. And Thomas Frank had spoken to TalkSport about the potential or the possibility of becoming another Manchester United manager or moving on. 6 years at a football club, Thomas Frank at Brentford, and you would think it was time to make that step, would you not? Bigger players are starting to move on, and I'm not saying that they're losing the touch, Brentford. They're always going to be a challenge at their home stadium, which they always are, as we know. I think we've won one in the last 3 games that we've played there. And Frank has always had our number, really. He always understands how to play United, how to get the best out of his team as well. And for a season, they've always looked safe. And ever since they came up, unexpectedly promoted to the Premier League, they've been solid. Is that enough to be a Manchester United manager? This is the highest level that Thomas Frank has managed at. Have we not already learnt our lesson? And this may just be your opinion. I'm not trying to sway you into it. I'm not trying to say that he's not good enough. You might like Thomas Frank. Get into the comments. I'm going to balance both sides of it, though, I think, on what we need to do. But it has been reported by the Daily Mail that now Thomas Frank, with the managerial situation as it is at United, whether or not you look at it as him being down the pecking order and about, 6th or 7th choice at the club, is that bad on its own? But he is now the leading candidate to take over Erik ten Hag if the Dutchman does not turn things around. Funnily enough, Thomas Frank is in town this weekend. Whether or not you can look at the reports and say, look, this is just 2 and 2 put together and they've made a story out of this, the media, you could easily go down that road. But we have been linked with Thomas Frank before, and there is room in this, I feel, and there is movement within the Thomas Frank speculation circle, let's just say that. But really, reality-wise, I've still got my doubts about Thomas Frank. I've said this before. I understand what people are saying. That level is not good enough. And then you got some people that have argued the point, look, he has to make that jump at some point. And where are Manchester United? Where are your expectations at? Arne Slot, not seen as top target. Feyenoord, for God's sake, coming into Liverpool. A Feyenoord manager. I mean, you know where I'm going with this. You understand what I'm saying. Like, what's the difference from Liverpool and getting Arne Slot in, who you wouldn't expect? He definitely wasn't their top target. And Manchester United bringing in Thomas Frank. What is the difference there? Where are United at? We're a mid-table Premier League side. So really, some would say we're not really getting the right type of manager. Are we getting a manager that is comfortable in the middle of the table in the Premier League? And that level of performance is where he's actually at. There's no more ceiling. There is no ceiling. There is a ceiling for Thomas Frank, and that's where it's at right now. Can he excel at the next level up with that sort of structure behind him and money to spend? It's the complete unknown. But whichever way you look at it, the names that are being mentioned and everybody else that's coming into Manchester United at the moment, like Solskjaer was the unknown, Ralf Rangnick was the unknown, Erik ten Hag was the unknown. Like, the levels that they're managing at, you still have to look at it and go, they've not had Premier League experience, any of them. And we still brought them in and we was hyping them up. Is it not worth a shout, Thomas Frank? Is he not worth that go at Manchester United? Could they get him on a shorter-term contract? I mean, to be honest, if I looked at it, I'm looking at it in every single possible way right now. And the first way I would look at it is if I was Ineos. I'm Ineos and I'm looking at the Thomas Frank situation. They've exhausted every single avenue. And let's just put this in perspective quickly as well. Ten Hag is still the Manchester United manager. Just for everyone who wants to have a go at me right now and say, you're winning at Ten Hag. No, he is the manager. and he is going to be managing against Thomas Frank this weekend. So it's far from it. But we know that Manchester United are living on the edge, and so is the manager. So if Thomas Frank came in, how would Ineos look at this? Ineos would look at this and go, does Thomas Frank work within our structure? Well, of course he does, because he's never got any money to spend at all. And he isn't going to say boo to a goose when he steps forward and takes the Manchester United manager's job with the second richest man in the bleeding country in control of him and the sporting structure that Manchester United have built at the football club right now. Thomas Frank fits the bill on that side of it. Is he better than Southgate? I'd take him over Southgate if you were offering me either manager. Premier League experience, going into his 4th year of Premier League experience now, so he knows what it's all about. He's beaten some of the best managers. He's run some of the best managers close in certain games. Let's not forget, this is a man who masterminded a victory against Liverpool, against Manchester City, at the Etihad as well, I might add. So, he's got experience going up against the best and he knows how to beat the best. Yes, you could say that is with a defensive outlook, but Brentford took the game to City in that fixture. And earlier on this season, City only just got over the line, having gone behind again in that game to Brentford. 2-1 City managed to get a win against Thomas Frank's side. He knows how to play football and he knows how to operate around the bigger clubs and the bigger teams. And United, I feel, is... I still have this doubt that it is going to be that too big a step up. But if you're Ineos and you wanted to give a manager time, Thomas Frank would probably be that type of character. You can see what he's done. You can see the experience he's had. And you can see how he's gone up against the best and got the better of them in a lot of cases. Look, it is a big ask, a massive ask, and I am not getting carried away with myself. I'm not saying that Thomas Frank is going to be the saviour for Manchester United by any stretch of the imagination. Some people in the comments already are saying he just isn't good enough. How do we know is the question I would ask against that. And I get it, I do. I get that side of it. I get the argument for and against. I completely do. And I think this is going to be with every single manager that comes up right now. And I just look at it and say, look, until the manager steps foot, until the player steps on the field, manager and player that is, manager in the dugout, player on the field, and they're in charge or they're playing for Manchester United, you just don't know. You're never, ever going to know. He may thrive. He may be the next best thing. But if buts and maybes are just not how United can operate right now, I don't think we've got enough time. Thomas Frank, according to Omar Barada, if it's true and he comes in as the manager, will be lifting the Premier League title in 4 years. And then his career will go off to a different stratosphere altogether. That's what Manchester United's target is. If you're going to win the Premier League in 4 years' time, is Thomas Frank the manager that you entrust with this process, this new process of Ineos running the football club and the manager or the coach, whatever you want to call him, just working underneath that structure? Is he the man? That's the killer question, because if he's not, then there's no point in bringing him in. The next manager, I'm pretty certain Ineos were willing to see out the season with Ten Hag, and I still feel and I'm still convinced, even if he did manage to get Manchester United further up the table, back into the top 10, he's going to get the axe. Winning the trophy this season is not going to be enough unless it's the Europa League and it gets us into the Champions League. That's it for Ten Hag. He would have been gone anyway. So Ten Hag wasn't the long-term plan. So who was the next manager after Ten Hag is the question you've got to ask. I don't think it was Thomas Frank. I really don't. I think it was someone bigger. And I still think they're looking for someone bigger. But maybe that person has been put off right now. Maybe that person has gone. Because when you look at the situation with Thomas Tuchel, for instance, and we're talking about who was available, Tuchel was always top target. And Manchester United obviously going for Tuchel in the summer. It was clear. We tried again. But nobody knew that Thomas Tuchel was signing for England. Apparently, according to the reports, and the reports are true, that's what I've heard anyway, Thomas Tuchel signed for England last Tuesday. And we all know what last Tuesday was. Last Tuesday was the day that Manchester United had that board meeting. So if there was going to be any shaking and moving, then it was completely shut down, because Tuchel was the only manager that was on Manchester United's cards as replacing Ten Hag. So if that happened last Tuesday, that's why we didn't get any news coming out, and Manchester United's hands were tied. They have had to move swiftly over to Plan B. Plan B is clearly keeping Ten Hag in charge, with a little bit of hope that he turns something around and gets United moving. But I firmly believe that there is another plan in motion right now, which has already got Ten Hag out of this football club. And if it's at the end of the season or if it's midway through or if it's next week or at the end of the next international break, whenever it may be, Ten Hag is not the man to lead Manchester United forward in Ineos's eyes. It just doesn't look like it. They spoke to bleeding everyone. Every manager that is available have Manchester United have approached. So, no, Ten Hag is not the future of this football club. The issue we've got with Ten Hag right now and the arguments that we're constantly having is we don't want to throw another season away, so we want it quicker than what Ineos might have wanted themselves. But Tuchel threw a spanner in the works. How crap Ten Hag has been and United's performances this season is another spanner in the works. And the whole structure and plan for Ineos has just been thrown up in smoke. It's just gone up in smoke completely. And I mean, that's where we're at right now. And Thomas Frank's name being thrown into the mix is an obvious one, because I do believe if they wanted him, they'd be able to go and get him from Brentford and persuade him away. I don't want to be disrespectful to Brentford. They're a great club, fantastically run club, nice, tidy little stadium, absolutely brilliant. Thomas Frank loves it there. Everybody loves it at Brentford. I've been there a couple of times now, and it is a nice setup. It's nice. It's not the top level, though. And where are a manager's aspirations? If you don't want to move forward, he's taken Brentford as far as he can. 6 years at the football club. I think that they would be fine in finding a replacement this season for Thomas Frank, and I think United could get him if they wanted him. And that's just my whole sort of outlook with Thomas Frank and where the situation is and what I feel about it. I am going to come to the comments now and see how you all feel about Thomas Frank. Whether you think he's good enough is probably the main question that we're going to be asking tonight. Is he able to make that step up? That's what you've got to ask yourselves. And what are the pros and cons with it? Get them into the chat. Starting off with Modern Samurai, the legend that is Modern Samurai, in the chat with a super chat that says, Erik ten Hag came from a league equal to the Championship, which Frank already beat and has managed to keep Brentford competitive. I doubt Erik ten Hag could do the same. It's a fair point. Thanks for the super chat, Modern Samurai, you legend. Christopher Whitaker says, Manchester United fans who say he's not a big enough name, you are a mid-table team. This is obviously not a United fan. You are not in a position to expect to attract a top manager. Simple as. To back what Christopher says there, apparently, as you can see at the bottom of your screen there, in the summer, Manchester United did approach Xabi Alonso, and he said no to Manchester United. Just like a few other managers, it seems, have said no to Manchester United. And maybe Christopher's got a point there in the chat. Maybe looking in, United aren't seen as that big club anymore. They're not seen as that powerhouse of European football now. We are a mid-table team right now, and the stats over the last 14 months tell you exactly that. We're a mid-table team that can give anyone a fight in a one-off cup game. That's where United are. And no one's going to tell me any different. If you're happy with that, that's good for you. I'm not. And we need to start getting over this and get over it very, very quickly, because it's not acceptable. As a Manchester United supporter, I am not accepting where we're actually at with the investment that's gone in and the pieces that are in place here now with the structure at Manchester United. I actually was happy with the summer, and I'm absolutely devastated at how the season has started. And that's my head, and that's where I'm at right now. Gary Burton says, we need to get Frank at all costs. Tactical genius. Great man-to-man management. Could listen to that bloke speak out about tactics all day. His passion is infectious. Is that enough? So expectation levels. Has he ever worked under an expectation? No, he's not. And I keep saying this, and I'm binding negatives because in my head, I'm sort of like got them red-tinted glasses on. But like Christopher says, the opposition fan there, I need to stop thinking that way. I need to sort of lower my expectations, but I just refuse to. I do, because I think there's more in this team. I still think this team could make top 4 with the right changes put in place. There is enough talent in Man United with the right manager and setup to go and challenge for the Champions League this season. I'm still convinced of it, and no one will convince me otherwise. I just feel like we've got everything completely wrong from the summer in terms of the coaching and everything. I knew this was coming. I said it at the time. I didn't get carried away. I enjoyed my day in London and Wembley. And then I wanted to move on. I wanted to move on. It was as simple as that. Christopher Hooper, that is, says, just replying to someone. United Spotlight says, I'd have taken Frank all day if it was when Erik ten Hag comes in. Now we need a proven winner who demands respect of the dressing room. Well, look, if Thomas Frank comes in and Ruud van Nistelrooy stays, then maybe you have got that respect in the dressing room. If you can't respect Ruud van Nistelrooy, a Manchester United legend who has won everything, then there's no hope for these players at all. Absolutely no hope. And like Thomas Frank would never have managed. He hasn't managed anyone of substance. Like, you've got Ivan Toney. I think that's the biggest player that he's probably managed. Please don't. Don't think I'm disrespecting him in any way, shape, or form. I may have got that wrong. I've not looked into the full history of Thomas Frank and players that he's managed. And there may be bigger players there. Christian Eriksen, probably one of them as well. He was the first manager to take him back when Christian Eriksen recovered from his surgery and his obvious health issues that we all know about. So there is history there that he has worked with certain players. Does he command enough respect? Will any manager command respect out of this lot? That's what you've got to ask. Thomas McArdle with the super chat. Thank you, Thomas. He says, we had bigger Adam and even they could do nothing. We had bigger Adam, okay, and even they could do nothing. It's a good point, Thomas, and one that I think slots right into the debate and the argument that we're having right now. It's not an argument, sorry, but debate. That Thomas Frank probably is a manager that's worth giving a go to Manchester United, and he deserves a chance at a top club. Maybe it's the right time for someone like Thomas Frank to go to a club the size of Manchester United simply because of where they are and the expectation levels are so low. I mean, you can't do any worse, can you? And with that sort of new manager bounce, it may give him that confidence to go forward and actually be that next top coach in European football. I'm not saying that he's going to be, but you just don't know, do you? Starting block is very low for United right now for a new manager, and the only way is up. So you're at an advantage straight away. So maybe someone like Frank coming in would be a good option because of that. That's how you have to look at it, I feel. Inzaghi was also approached, but he rejected us allegedly. Yes, that was a true one as well. Nick says, you never know, Adam. I remember saying, who's this mouthy jock, thinking he can come down here. Who's Aberdeen? The rest, as they say, is history. Very true, Nick. Very fair comment as well, my friend. Thank you for that. It is important to remember. Please make sure you stay in the chat, everyone. Adam has some exciting content news. Special mention for someone who can guess what it is. That was from Kaz in the chat. So yes, stay tuned to the end of the video, please, everyone, because it's an announcement. It is an announcement. So yeah, make sure you stay tuned. Okay, yes, the next episode of United Couple will be out tomorrow as well. That's not the announcement, by the way. I can just see our legendary mod guest in the chat there, putting the link in. Thank you, yes. Sat is in the chat, and he says, let's go balls deep on Sandro Wegman. Sandra Wiegman? It's Wiegman, isn't it? Is that a first name? Is that how you say it? Why am I forgetting Wiegman's first name? Oh, I can't remember it now, but no, I don't think that's on the agenda anyway, or actually happening. She's a top woman coach. Someone will eventually break through. There will be a top woman coach eventually break through into the man's game. I just don't feel like it will be at the top level straight away. I don't, in my opinion. But please do get involved in the chat if you want to have your say on that. Am I being a bit too much? Louise says, if Frank wouldn't say boo to a ghost, then I don't fancy him. In terms of the structure and how it should be run, is what I'm saying with that one, Louise. Like, who is he to say how a big club like Manchester United should be run? If they say to him, these are the tools, we're bringing you in to do this. Now go and do it. I think he's the right man. We're then saying, we can't really say boo to a goose, obviously, if that's in the football structure-wise, then we probably look at Thomas Frank as being the right man for Manchester United, because he would be a man that's just going to get on with the job and coach. He doesn't want to have too much of his say up above. He doesn't want to have a say in all of the transfer. He wants the structure to run, and he can then coach the way he wants to coach. Maybe that is the perfect blend for United. We're still trying to find it. And I think sometimes we are just that arrogant, we are that red-tinted, we're just looking down a one-way street a lot of the time, United fans, when it comes to what we expect. And it sounds like a bit of a contradiction because I want to keep the standards up, but when it comes to managers, I feel like we've run out of options, and that's the problem. And I'm still not having people saying, look, you might as well just keep Ten Hag then. Well, no, it's clearly not working. So let's bin Ten Hag if it's not working, it doesn't get any better, and then look for another angle, look for a different direction. You have to before it just festers and you just fall out of any sort of relevance whatsoever. Because that's where United are going right now. We are more of a laughingstock than we are a seriously well-taken football club right now. That's where United are. Peter says, in my opinion, they need someone who is good at working with youth. Thomas Frank is not a bad pick in that regard, but I'm unsure about his style of football. Look, he's very, very tactical. He is used to looking at the opposition rather than setting his team up to take a game to someone, I would say. I think that's what Thomas Frank is. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and for Brentford, that's probably all right. And their expectation levels are fine where he's at, and they're happy for him to do that. But what you also have to look at is, with Thomas Frank, if he steps up to United, has he got that next level plan? Has he got something else which is going to convince the complete fan base that he can make this happen for us, and he can get more out of these so-called world-beating players? We need a small cap at this time and moment. Starlord says, I will be Frank out from day one. Same with Southgate. John says, spoke to everyone. You mean spoke to some retards and never went any of them. I'm not talking. Spoke to her. Don't know what that is. If that's aimed at me, I don't know why. But it might be someone else in the chat. Sorry if I'm butting into a conversation. I just wanted to give everyone a chance. If Frank had our schedule, he would be top 4. If Erik ten Hag had Brentford's schedule, we wouldn't be in the bottom of the table. Does that make sense? Probably. I think you know where you're going with that one, Samurai. I wanted McKenna last year. He is in a similar situation. Year 2 of a massively long contract. That's from You Got Roz. Yeah, great comments as well tonight, everyone. Keep them coming in. Apparently, Manchester United have a continuous line of conversation dialect with Zinedine Zidane. Moving on to that story. It's one that came out of The Independent today, picked up by the Sun newspaper as well, that Jean-Claude Blanc is continuously communicating with Zinedine Zidane, and there is a plan later down the line to maybe bring Zidane in, and that's what the report says. The stumbling block for this is simply that Zinedine Zidane, in his words, when talking to L'Equipe, has said that he wants to be able to speak the local language of the team that he is actually playing. The team that he's managing, sorry. And that's something that he feels he needs if he was to come to England, for instance. We've seen and heard Emmanuel Petit talking many a times on TV and radio. Very good friends with Zinedine Zidane. He is learning English. Whether or not later down the line Zinedine Zidane would come available, he's very picky and choosy in what he does. He's only ever had the Real Madrid job. And some would say that that was an easy job because he had just superstars around him everywhere and he's expected to win. Well, when you've got Barcelona breathing down your neck, it's not quite that easy. And he did win the Champions League as well, so he's taken on the best that there was in Europe at the time, won that 3 times in a row. So, yeah, he is a good manager. I think he will command respect. He is an attacking brand of football. We can only say that because he was only at Madrid. And you are pretty much forced into playing that attacking brand of football at Real Madrid. So, whether or not that would suit Manchester United right now, we're not sure. Again, it's the unknown, and you don't know until it's actually there in front of you and you're watching it. You can't judge anything until you see it properly in action. But Zidane is obviously, he's good friends with Jean-Claude Blanc, who is our sporting operations manager at Manchester United now, alongside his role at Ineos. And maybe is the word. Would that be something that you guys would go for? It's 2 completely different ends of the spectrum altogether. You've got Thomas Frank on one side, who is the complete unknown at the highest level. And you've got Zinedine Zidane, who is the complete unknown because he's only ever managed one football club and that had the best players on the planet there. And he won everything. So is there a reason why Zinedine Zidane has not actually gone back into management yet? Is that the reason why he's not gone back in? Because he hasn't found anyone that suits what he wants to do. His style of football needs world-class players everywhere, it would seem. That's why he's not going for a job. I'm assuming that, but obviously you can only assume because he's not taking anything else. So does that concern you? Is that a problem when it comes to bringing someone like Zidane in? Midnight Lover says, Adam, the reason the players are rejecting Man United is because of this manager. Why would they come to a manager where there is no plan, no passion, stands on the pitch like a cucumber? A lot of people have picked up on Ten Hag's in-game stuff and that being a big problem. I'm ditto. I'm the same. 100%. Boxing says, we can't attract the big names anymore because Hag has destroyed us. Frank could be good to bridge that back into the big time. Yeah, that's another point. Like, he could be the one that sort of takes over the intermediate sort of period, which is, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like the next, he's a stepping stone. I don't want to say that because it's quite disrespectful, but he could be that one that gets United moving in the right direction within a couple of years if it hasn't worked out and we can't get in to that next level, which is obviously Champions League, then maybe that will be a good time to bring someone else in. We need someone to actually come in and actually get these players playing with a bit of freedom and help them express themselves. Zidane would definitely do that. He would give these players all the freedom under the sun. Is he tactically good enough to go up against the best managers on the planet, though? Because we have got some of them in this league right now. Tactically, I don't know about Zidane. I honestly don't, and I haven't got an opinion on his tactics. I just know that he just fed into that built-in winning mentality that Real Madrid have got, and everyone at the football club knows they've got. There is players in that team that will just do something. You stay confident, you keep on playing, you keep on attacking, eventually you will score, eventually you will win. That's the mentality. That is the mentality. Sat says, Fabrizio Romano on his YouTube channel, says Manchester United confirm Luke Shaw and Mason Mount are making steady progress in their rehabilitations from injury. What the hell does steady progress mean? Honestly, I give up. I don't even care. Like, steady progress. We're supposed to be seeing him. That is Luke Shaw, that is. Still not here. No, back to the managers, by the way, because that is the topic tonight. Question. How long before we are trying to convince ourselves David Moyes should come back? Some people were talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You never know. Peter says, Zidane going to manage that new Paris club, maybe, or maybe he just wants to retire. It's not like he needs more money. I think he did sort of have the French job in mind, and Deschamps didn't quit. So I think that sort of put him out in the wilderness a little bit and left him with nowhere really to go. So I think that had a big part of it as well. But yes, just to go over the news, if you are just joining us, welcome along, everybody. Just over halfway through the show, Thomas Frank is seen as the leading candidate to take the Manchester United job. So should Ten Hag be relieved of his duties? Manchester United communicating continuously with Zinedine Zidane through Jean-Claude Blanc, and there is a possibility that in the future he would be interested in the United job. That story coming from the Independent as well. The Daily Mail were the ones picking up on a Thomas Frank story, but that has done the rounds over social media this afternoon as well. So unless you were sleeping under a rock, you would have seen them headlines. Has it been put together simply because the next game at Old Trafford in 2 days' time is, in fact, Brentford, and Thomas Frank is in charge of that Brentford side coming to the Theatre of Dreams? Maybe they're just pushing it out there. I think if United wanted Frank, I think they would be able to get him. And I think that is, again, why this story is circulating, because there is legs with it, I feel. It definitely is. Anyway, I wanted to move on to other stories. And this is more in regards to what Manchester United's plans are in the future. Sami Mokbel, chief reporter for the Daily Mail, chief football reporter for the Daily Mail, has been reporting that Manchester United hold a serious interest in RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko. He's expected to leave the German side next summer. Now, we've talked about this quite a lot. Like, Sesko, is he another Rasmus Højlund? Funnily enough, them two are great mates. Is he prolific enough? The good thing about Benjamin Sesko was that he didn't move to any other club this summer. He decided to stay at RB Leipzig, And that was simply because he wanted to develop even more before he made that big move. Now, the Red Bull Group do offer that, whether it's Salzburg, their feeder club, or Leipzig, obviously their main club. They do like to develop their players. They send them on loan. They have a structure. They have a pathway. We were talking about this when we were going into Christopher Vivil's job and what his role was at RB Leipzig. Well, his time there in terms of recruitment and building these pathways. We've already talked about how he's been involved with certain things with younger players United have brought this summer as well. But he would definitely give Manchester United an advantage when it came to dealing with RB Leipzig and Benjamin Sesko. Obviously, the only issue is, and do you know what? I like Sesko. I think he's a physical specimen. I think going away and playing another season at Leipzig is definitely going to do him good. He'll learn a lot more. He'll develop a lot more as well. And he hasn't jumped the gun a little bit. So maybe we could say the likes of Rasmus Højlund could have done with doing something like this at his age as well. But look, 16 goals last season. It wasn't bad for Rasmus Højlund. And I'm not saying that we didn't make the right move and he didn't make the right move. Of course he's going to jump at the chance to play for Manchester United. He's a United fan, for God's sake. But Sesko definitely intrigues me a little bit in how he turned down the big names this summer and then went back to Leipzig for another year to develop more. So I just feel like that is definitely a plus point in all of this. Question is, do you think he's good enough? Is he the type of striker that you would go for? And then you've got to just look at it and say, look, where does he fit in at United? But one thing that we do need to have before anything comes to the negotiating table for anyone, even like not Thomas Frank, even like Benjamin Sesko, then really you need to be at a certain level of football-wise. You need to be at a level where we are actually competing and can offer this player Champions League football or something else of that matter. And what you've got to say is, like, United, yes, it's all good, well, actually talking about bringing in the right players, making sure that they are the right players to come to United. Fantastic. But you have to have something to offer now for these younger players. We discussed this before. And I don't know. And this is why it's all important that Manchester United actually do make a change and start to move up that table so we can attract better players into next season. Anyway, I have just pinned a comment into the live chats. The announcement that I was talking about earlier on today is that we are launching a separate channel. Football Talks is the channel. It is everything football with a twist. There may be some United content, related United content in there, but it's something different, something that I've wanted to do, and is a combined team effort between a few people coming together and just breaking down a different side of football, going into detail on different topics. It is all football. It's brilliant. We are launching it tonight at 8 o'clock. So what I want you to do, please, everybody, is just go to that link in the live chat now. Click on that. Subscribe to Football Talks, please, everybody. There is content dropping at 8 o'clock tonight. Our first video is coming out tonight. It is different to what you're watching right now. It's not the same at all. But it is a different look on football on different matters and very specific topics as well. And I just feel like I need to talk about all other sides of football. It isn't just United knowledge that I've got. I want to venture out into doing more football talking and different detailed content as well. And that is what Football Talks is all about, everybody. Please do click on that link. I'm going to leave it there till the end of this show. Click on it. Go and subscribe to the channel, please, everybody. We are kickstarting it tonight at 8 o'clock. The first video is dropping, so please go over there after this video and make sure you give it a look and show some support as well for the video that's dropping later on. I'm not going to tell you what the video is. You're just going to have to wait, but it's coming. That's all you need to know. Thank you, everybody, for that. Much appreciated, because I know you all love to talk about football in all different ways and different aspects of the game. So that is that. I'm a very opinionated person, and hopefully that comes across in these videos as well. But there may be things in there that surprise you as well. They might. Xabi Alonso, I talked about him earlier on. Back on this video right now, and where we're actually at with the manager situation. We talked about Frank, we talked about Zinedine Zidane, we talked about Xabi Alonso a little bit. Why is Xabi Alonso relevant right now? Simply because he's another manager that's turned Manchester United down. And there's been many. Look, we've had what? We said it about 10 minutes ago, didn't we, on this show? In Zaga, you had Thomas Tuchel turn you down as well. We've had Xabi Alonso turn us down. We've had, what do we have now? We've had quite a few. Honestly, when you look at the list, it's quite frightening. And I said this at the top of the show as well. And I said, look, Manchester United's future is not with Ten Hag. It's simple. It is not with Ten Hag. Whichever way you look at it, he may last the season out. It's true. There is a good chance that he will if results just stay on a God knows what standard level playing field. Like if you stay mid-table and that's good enough for you, then God, we are going nowhere. I just feel like a decision will come soon enough, which is inevitable. And Manchester United's future is away from Ten Hag, or vice versa. Sorry, I should have said that. Ten Hag's future is away from Man United. But really, when you look at everything that's played out, when you look at the summer, you look at what's happening this season, you look at all the talks, the meetings, what's been said, what's the expectations are from the journalists and the media, then when you look at everything, you have to just say, look, Manchester United are actively trying to get this man out of the football club. From the contract extension, triggered one, and not an Ineos contract, to the players that have been brought in, Ten Hag not playing the players that have been brought in, because I don't feel like most of them have been what he would bring in the old regime. And Manchester United's form and the current players actually not relating at all to Eric Ten Hag. I feel like there's a lot going wrong right now, and it's all leading in one direction, and that direction is Ten Hag packing his bags and leaving, either now, into the next calendar year, and definitely by the start of next season. He will not be Manchester United manager. I'm confident in saying that. Look, if he can turn some form of form around through his season, I'll be there, I'll be cheering, I'll be bigging things up, but I still don't think that Ten Hag is going to do anything that's going to convince Ineos that he is going to be the man that's going to take United forward, starting from next season and picking that Premier League trophy up within 3 years of the start of next season. Ten Hag isn't the man. He's definitely not. He would have had 3 years if he survives this season, and I think that's more than enough for everyone to judge him for what he's actually achieved at the club and how you can see Manchester United progressing or lack of progression going forward with him. I think that's what you have to balance out in everything with Ten Hag. Even if you are a full-on Ten Hag inner, you are not kidding anybody, and you do have to put your, just like hand on heart say, the reality is there. We know what's coming. It just depends when. And all these managers turning Manchester United down, that's really the concerning thing right now. That's the concern, because who is going to take the job? I think that United have got someone lined up for the summer. I do. I think that was the plan. But right now we're looking at the desperation stakes, aren't we? We're looking at everything that is... what Ineos were hoping for was a better season than what we've got. Like, they didn't think that Ten Hag could be worse than what he was last season, and he is. And that's why we're talking about it now. These shows and this talk would have been carrying on towards the back end of the season, definitely. We would have been talking about this as the season was coming to an end. Let's get into a few more comments before we finish up. Now, one from John says, if you think a new manager is taking this group of players anywhere, you are sadly confused. Our only hope is that Ineos is very good at bringing in players and improving our academy. And that is what we're doing. We are improving our academy. We are bringing in better players, which we have done so far. We just can't fit them in Ten Hag's system, which common denominator sort of talk gives you Eric Ten Hag. There you go. That's the problem we've got right now. That is the problem we have got. And I don't think that he's going to be able to turn it around. And I don't think Ineos are convinced he can either. Skiliano says, as long as Eric Ten Hag is still there, I hope he turns it around. But I can't see it happening. I'll be sad when we start again for the 6th time. I won't be sad. I won't be sad. I'll have my reality cap on, and I'll be looking at it like this is what needed to happen. A decision needed to be made, and we've got a structure in place, touch wood, hopefully, that has the balls to actually make it. So, yeah, that is exactly where we are at. Everybody, that is our show all concluded. Thank you so much. Amazing chat tonight, everyone. We talked over Thomas Frank and the situation there, Zinedine Zidane, Benjamin Sesko as a possible target going forward. Plenty to get into. Please drop your comments in after the live has finished, everyone. Make sure you do. Thank you to all the contributions as well. Mods and members in the chat, please do Go over, the link is in the chat right now. Click on Football Talks. It's our new sister channel here on Forever United TV. More football, but in a completely different way. That's all I'm going to say. The first video drops at 8 o'clock tonight, everybody. Thank you so much. You did an amazing job, people. And I will see you all 8 o'clock tomorrow. Actually, no, I'll see you at 8 o'clock this evening on Football Talks. Links there in the live chat. And I'll see you on FUT at 8 o'clock in the morning. Have a good one. Enjoy, everybody.